Most people think the best-looking gardens belong to gardeners who spend thousands of dollars every spring buying new plants. The truth is almost the opposite. Some of the most spectacular gardens in America become more beautiful every single year because their owners planted the right perennials once and then simply let time do the rest. These aren't plants that slowly fade away after a few seasons. They're plants that grow larger, fuller, stronger, and more impressive with every passing year. Some eventually become massive flowering clumps that neighbors stop to admire. Others multiply naturally, filling empty spaces without costing you another dollar. And one perennial near the end of today's countdown has been known to thrive in the same location for over 50 years. If you're planning a garden that becomes better every season instead of starting over every spring, stay with us until the very end. Today, we're counting down 15 perennials that actually improve with age. Most gardeners believe the secret to a spectacular landscape is buying new flowers every spring. They head to the garden center year after year, loading carts with colorful annuals that bloom beautifully for a few months, only to disappear when winter arrives. By the following season, they repeat the entire process all over again. But experienced gardeners know something very different. Some of the most breathtaking gardens in America aren't rebuilt every year. They simply get better. Certain perennials don't just survive from one season to the next. They become larger, stronger, healthier, and dramatically more beautiful with every passing year. A small plant you buy today can eventually become a massive flowering centerpiece that completely transforms your landscape without costing another dollar. Some spread into stunning colonies. Others produce more flower stalks every season. A few can even live for decades with almost no special care. The secret is choosing plants that improve with age instead of declining after only a few years. Today, we're counting down 15 incredible perennials that grow bigger, fuller, and more spectacular every single year. Some are famous. Others remain surprisingly overlooked. Several thrive across a wide range of USDA growing zones, making them excellent choices for gardeners throughout much of the United States. And stay with us until the very end, because the number one perennial on today's list has been known to bloom beautifully in the same location for over half a century. Let's begin. Number 15. Daylily, Hemerocallis. If there is one perennial that perfectly demonstrates the phrase, better with age, it's the daylily. When first planted, a young daylily may produce only a handful of flower stalks. It looks attractive, but not extraordinary. Then something remarkable happens. Each passing year, the underground crown slowly expands. New fans develop. More flower stalks emerge. Before long, a single small plant becomes an enormous mound covered with dozens, sometimes hundreds, of colorful blooms throughout summer. Modern daylilies are available in nearly every color imaginable: golden yellow, deep burgundy, bright orange, creamy white, soft pink, rich purple, even dramatic bicolored varieties with ruffled petals. Some varieties bloom once, others rebloom several times during the growing season. USDA Zones 3 through 9 provide excellent conditions for most daylily cultivars. They tolerate heat remarkably well. Cold winters rarely bother them. Once established, they survive periods of drought with very little supplemental watering. Another advantage is their adaptability. Heavy clay, average garden soil, sandy locations, daylilies seem happy almost anywhere with adequate sunlight. Every 4 to 6 years, dividing mature clumps actually creates even more plants for free. One purchase can eventually become dozens spread throughout your landscape. Butterflies frequently visit the flowers, while the dense foliage helps suppress weeds around the base. Very few perennials offer this combination of beauty, toughness, longevity, and value. For gardeners wanting maximum results with minimal maintenance, daylilies remain one of America's smartest investments. Number 14. Peony, Paeonia. Some flowers impress you the first year. Peonies amaze you for decades. A newly planted peony often tests a gardener's patience. During its first couple of seasons, it may produce only a few blooms or none at all. Many people think they've done something wrong, but the plant is simply building something far more important than flowers. It's building roots. And once those roots are established, everything changes. By the 5th year, a healthy peony becomes an enormous mound of glossy green foliage topped with massive, fragrant blossoms that can measure 6 to 10 inches across. Few flowers create such an unforgettable display. Soft blush pink, pure white, deep crimson, coral, golden yellow. Modern peonies offer colors and flower forms that simply didn't exist a generation ago. USDA zones 3 through 8 provide ideal growing conditions. Cold winters actually improve flowering because peonies require winter chilling to set buds properly. Plant them in full sun with rich, well-drained soil and avoid planting the crown too deeply. Even an extra inch below the soil can reduce blooming. One of the greatest advantages of peonies is longevity. Many American gardens still contain peonies planted by grandparents over 50 years ago. Some historic gardens proudly display plants that have bloomed continuously for nearly a century. Every spring, they return larger than before. More stems, more buds, more flowers. Honeybees eagerly visit their blooms, while their lush foliage remains attractive long after flowering ends. Unlike many perennials that need frequent dividing, peonies actually prefer being left alone. The less you disturb them, the better they perform. Number 13. Hosta. When most people think of hostas, flowers aren't the first thing that comes to mind, it's the foliage. And with good reason. Few shade-loving perennials transform a landscape as dramatically over time. A young hosta may begin as a small clump with only a dozen leaves. 5 or 6 years later, that same plant can spread several feet wide, producing hundreds of beautifully textured leaves. Some varieties feature deep emerald green. Others display brilliant gold centers. Many have creamy white edges. Blue-gray foliage has become especially popular for woodland gardens. During summer, elegant flower stalks rise above the leaves, carrying soft lavender or white blooms that hummingbirds eagerly visit. Hostas thrive in USDA zones 3 through 9. Morning sun combined with afternoon shade creates ideal growing conditions. Consistent moisture encourages rapid growth, although established plants tolerate short dry periods surprisingly well. One mature hosta instantly fills empty spaces beneath trees where few flowering plants survive. As clumps expand, they naturally suppress weeds by shading the soil below. Every 5 to 7 years, gardeners can divide mature hostas into several new plants. One original purchase often multiplies into an entire shade garden. Modern slug-resistant varieties have also made hostas easier to grow than ever before. If your landscape contains difficult, shady areas, very few perennials become more impressive with age than hostas. Number 12. Baptisia, false indigo. Some perennials grow slowly. Baptisia builds an empire. The first couple of years after planting can feel almost uneventful. Above ground, growth appears modest. Below ground, however, an enormous taproot is developing. Once established, that deep root system transforms Baptisia into one of the toughest, long-lived perennials available. Every season, the plant grows wider, taller, denser. Flower spikes multiply dramatically. Eventually, a mature Baptisia resembles a flowering shrub more than a typical perennial. Its upright stems become covered with beautiful spikes of deep blue, violet, creamy white, or buttery yellow blossoms during late spring. Decorative seed pods follow the flowers, adding interest well into autumn. USDA zones 3 through 9 offer excellent growing conditions. Because of its deep taproot, Baptisia tolerates drought far better than most flowering perennials. Deer rarely browse it. Pollinators absolutely love it. One important rule separates successful gardeners from disappointed ones. Choose the planting location carefully. Once Baptisia settles in, moving it becomes extremely difficult. Fortunately, that's rarely necessary. Given time, this remarkable native perennial simply keeps becoming more beautiful every single year. Number 11. Siberian iris. Iris sibirica. Many gardeners think all irises bloom briefly and then disappear into the background. Siberian iris tells a very different story. While its elegant flowers last only a few weeks, the graceful, fountain-like foliage remains beautiful from spring until frost. And every single year the clump becomes larger, fuller, and more impressive. A young plant may produce only a handful of flower stems. 5 years later, that same clump can send up dozens of elegant blooms that seem to float above the narrow green leaves. The flowers appear in shades of deep violet, royal blue, lavender, white, buttery yellow, and stunning bicolors. Unlike many traditional bearded irises, Siberian irises tolerate wetter soils and require very little maintenance. USDA zones 3 through 9 provide excellent growing conditions. They thrive in full sun but also perform surprisingly well with light afternoon shade in warmer climates. Once established, they resist deer, tolerate cold winters, and rarely suffer from serious pests or diseases. Every 5 to 7 years, dividing mature clumps encourages even stronger flowering while giving you free plants for other parts of the garden. If you're looking for elegance that improves every season, Siberian iris is difficult to beat. Number 10. Astilbe shade gardens often struggle to deliver colorful summer flowers. Astilbe changes that completely. Each spring, fresh fern-like foliage emerges from the soil. Every season, the clump expands a little farther. Then, in early summer, tall, feathery flower plumes rise above the foliage like colorful clouds. Depending on the variety, you'll enjoy shades of soft pink, brilliant red, creamy white, lavender, or rich purple. As the plant matures, the number of flower plumes increases dramatically. A 5-year-old Astilbe can produce several times more blooms than a newly planted specimen. USDA zones 4 through 9 offer excellent growing conditions. Unlike drought-loving perennials, Astilbe appreciates consistently moist soil. It's an outstanding choice beside ponds, streams, woodland paths, or shaded foundation beds. Even after flowering ends, the attractive foliage continues providing texture throughout the growing season. Butterflies regularly visit the flowers, while deer usually leave the plants alone. Few shade perennials reward patience as generously as Astilbe. Number 9. Bleeding Heart, Dicentra spectabilis. Some flowers seem almost too beautiful to be real. Bleeding Heart is one of them. Arching stems carry rows of delicate heart-shaped blossoms that appear to dangle like tiny pink and white lockets. It's one of the first spectacular displays of spring. Young plants start modestly, but over time the underground crown expands steadily. Each year brings more stems, more flowers, and a fuller, more graceful appearance. USDA zones 3 through 9 provide ideal growing conditions. Bleeding Heart thrives in cool, partially shaded gardens with rich, well-drained soil. Morning sunlight combined with afternoon shade keeps the foliage looking fresh much longer. Although the plant naturally goes dormant during the hottest part of summer, the expanding crown ensures an even larger spring display the following year. Planted alongside hostas and ferns, and they'll beautifully fill the space once Bleeding Heart begins its seasonal rest. Sometimes the best gardens aren't those that bloom continuously. They're the ones where each season introduces something unforgettable. Number 8. Garden Phlox, Phlox paniculata. Few perennials can match the fragrance and sheer flower power of garden phlox. By midsummer, thick clusters of blooms begin covering the tops of sturdy stems, filling the garden with rich color and a sweet fragrance that carries through warm summer evenings. Modern disease-resistant varieties have transformed this classic perennial. Older types often struggled with powdery mildew, but newer cultivars like Gina, David, and Opening Act stay healthier while blooming for much longer. Garden phlox grows best in USDA zones 4 through 8. It prefers full sun, although gardeners in the southern states often see better performance with light afternoon shade. Consistent watering during extended dry periods helps keep flowering strong all season. Deadheading spent flower clusters encourages another flush of blooms, extending the display well into early fall. Butterflies absolutely love garden phlox. Large swallowtails, monarchs, painted ladies, and countless native bees visit the flowers from morning until sunset. Plant several together near patios or walkways where both the fragrance and pollinator activity can be fully enjoyed. If your garden needs one plant that combines beauty, fragrance, and wildlife value, garden phlox deserves serious consideration. Number 7. Japanese anemone. When most summer flowers begin slowing down, Japanese anemones are only getting started. These elegant perennials wait patiently until late summer before sending tall, graceful stems above their attractive green foliage. Soon afterward, delicate flowers begin opening in shades of pure white, blush pink, and soft rose. The display often continues until the first hard frost. Very few perennials bloom this late while maintaining such refined beauty. Japanese anemones thrive in USDA zones 4 through 8. They prefer rich, moist, well-drained soil and perform especially well in locations receiving morning sun with afternoon shade. Once established, underground rhizomes slowly expand into beautiful colonies that become larger each passing season. Because they flower when many gardens begin fading, they provide an important late-season nectar source for bees and butterflies preparing for autumn. The flowers also make outstanding cut flowers, lasting well over a week indoors. If your garden seems empty after August, Japanese anemone may be exactly the solution you've been searching for. Number 6. Sedum Autumn Joy. Some perennials save their greatest performance for the end of the growing season. Sedum Autumn Joy is one of the finest examples. Throughout spring and early summer, neat blue-green succulent foliage forms tidy mounds. Then, in late summer, thick flower heads begin emerging. At first, they're pale green. Soon, they turn soft pink. By early autumn, they deepen into rich rosy red before finally becoming bronze as winter approaches. This remarkable color transformation gives the plant months of visual interest instead of just weeks. Sedum grows beautifully in USDA zones 3 through 9. It loves full sun, excellent drainage, and handles drought with remarkable ease once established. The nectar-rich flowers attract butterflies, honeybees, native bees, and many beneficial insects precisely when other food sources begin disappearing. Even after frost, the dried flower heads remain attractive throughout winter, adding texture and interest to snowy landscapes while providing seeds and shelter for wildlife. If you're building a garden with year-round beauty, few perennials contribute more value than Sedum Autumn Joy. Number 5. Yarrow, Achillea millefolium. Some perennials seem almost impossible to disappoint. Yarrow is one of them. Even during long stretches of summer heat when many flowers begin slowing down, Yarrow continues producing broad, flat clusters of blooms that brighten the garden for months. Modern varieties offer far more than the traditional yellow. Today you'll find brilliant shades of white, soft pink, cherry red, coral, peach, golden yellow, and even deep terracotta. Most begin flowering in early summer and continue blooming well into early autumn. Regular deadheading encourages fresh flower stems throughout the season. Yarrow thrives in USDA zones 3 through 9. It loves full sun and excellent drainage. In fact, poor soil often produces stronger plants than overly rich ground. Once established, it becomes extremely drought-tolerant, making it one of the best choices for low-maintenance landscapes. The broad flower clusters attract butterflies, hoverflies, lacewings, and countless beneficial insects that naturally help control garden pests. If you're creating a pollinator-friendly garden that also survives difficult summers, Yarrow deserves a permanent place. Number 4. Tickseed, Coreopsis. If there is one perennial that proves you don't need constant attention to have a colorful garden, it's Tickseed. Modern Coreopsis varieties have been bred to bloom longer, produce more flowers, and tolerate difficult weather better than ever before. Once flowering begins in early summer, mature plants often become completely covered with cheerful blooms, hiding most of the foliage beneath. You'll find varieties in brilliant yellow, rich orange, crimson red, soft pink, creamy white, and striking bicolor combinations. Many newer cultivars continue flowering almost non-stop, until frost with only minimal deadheading. Coreopsis thrives in USDA zones 4 through 9. It performs best in full sun and well-drained soil, but adapts surprisingly well to sandy, rocky, and even poor soils where many flowering plants struggle. Butterflies visit the flowers almost every day throughout summer, while small birds feed on the seeds later in the season. For gardeners wanting maximum color with minimum effort, few perennials deliver a better return. Number 3. Black-eyed Susan, Rudbeckia. Some flowers never go out of style. Black-eyed Susan is one of them. Its brilliant golden petals surrounding deep chocolate-brown centers create one of the most recognizable flower displays in North America. Modern varieties bloom much longer than older selections, often producing fresh flowers from midsummer until the very first hard frost. Improved disease resistance also keeps the foliage healthier and greener throughout the season. Black-eyed Susan grows successfully in USDA zones 3 through 9. It tolerates heat, humidity, drought, poor soil, and changing weather with remarkable reliability. Plant several together and you'll create an eye-catching river of golden color visible from across the yard. Throughout late summer, monarch butterflies, painted ladies, and native bees gather around the nectar-rich flowers. Later in autumn, goldfinches and other birds feast on the seed heads, adding even more wildlife to your landscape. If you want dependable beauty that asks for very little in return, Black-eyed Susan remains one of America's finest garden perennials. Number 2. Coneflower, Echinacea. If there is one perennial that combines months of color, incredible durability, and outstanding wildlife value, it's coneflower. What was once known only for its classic purple blooms has evolved into one of the most exciting groups of garden perennials available today. Modern varieties come in brilliant orange, fiery red, coral pink, creamy white, golden yellow, lime green, and even dramatic double-flowered forms. Most begin blooming in early summer and continue producing fresh flowers until frost. Removing faded blooms encourages another wave of blossoms, but leaving a few seed heads standing rewards your garden in a different way. As autumn arrives, goldfinches, chickadees, and many other songbirds gather to feed on the nutritious seeds. That means your garden remains alive with activity long after many flowers have disappeared. Coneflowers thrive in USDA zones 3 through 9. They love full sun, tolerate intense summer heat, and once established require very little supplemental watering. Their deep root systems help them survive drought far better than many traditional flowering perennials. The large nectar-rich blooms attract butterflies, native bees, honeybees, hummingbirds, and dozens of beneficial insects throughout the growing season. Plant them in large groups, and you'll create one of the busiest pollinator destinations in your entire landscape. For gardeners wanting beauty, resilience, and wildlife support from one single plant, coneflower remains one of the finest choices available. Number 1. Verbena bonariensis. If your goal is creating a garden that looks colorful from early summer until the very first hard frost, very few perennials can compete with Verbena bonariensis. Unlike dense flowering plants that hide everything around them, Verbena produces tall, slender stems topped with clusters of brilliant purple flowers that appear to float effortlessly above the rest of the garden. That open, airy structure creates incredible movement, while allowing sunlight to reach lower-growing perennials beneath it. The result is a landscape that feels larger, lighter, and far more natural. Even more impressive is its blooming season. In favorable conditions, Verbena begins flowering in early summer and continues almost non-stop until freezing temperatures finally bring the season to an end. Few perennials offer such remarkable endurance. Every flower cluster becomes a magnet for butterflies, bees, hummingbirds, hoverflies, and countless beneficial insects. On warm summer afternoons, a single mature plant may host several different pollinators at exactly the same time. Verbena bonariensis grows as a perennial in USDA zones 7 through 11. In cooler regions, it often self-seeds generously, returning year after year with almost no effort from the gardener. It thrives in full sun, appreciates well-drained soil, and becomes surprisingly drought-tolerant once established. Plant it near ornamental grasses, coneflowers, black-eyed Susans, salvias, or Russian sage, where its graceful stems weave naturally through neighboring plants, creating a layered professional landscape design. Despite its elegant appearance, it asks for remarkably little maintenance beyond occasional watering during prolonged dry periods. If you plant only one long-blooming perennial from today's list, this might be the one that delivers the biggest transformation. Conclusion: a truly beautiful garden isn't measured by how spectacular it looks for 2 weeks in spring. It's measured by how much beauty it continues giving you month after month. By choosing long-blooming perennials with overlapping flowering seasons, you can enjoy continuous color from late spring until the first hard frost while reducing maintenance, attracting pollinators and creating a landscape that improves every single year. Whether you start with catmint, salvia, coneflower, black-eyed Susan, or the graceful Verbena bonariensis, every one of these plants brings you one step closer to a garden that stays alive all season long. If you enjoyed this countdown, subscribe for more practical gardening guides because every week we share plants, growing tips, and landscaping ideas that help American gardeners build healthier, more colorful gardens with less work and better results. Until next time, happy gardening.